Welcome to the War Eagle Radio Network for Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service, coming to you live from Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill in downtown Atwood. Talons Out Live takes you in-depth and behind the scenes with West Carroll War Eagles head coach Clayton Morris, with stats, comments, and a breakdown of the previous game, plus a look ahead in the schedule. We will sit down weekly with special guests and even a senior spotlight player. Now let's get this show on the road. From Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill, this is Talons Out Live. Welcome, one and all, to the War Eagle Radio Network, Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. As you can already tell, we are not at Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill tonight. I'll let you know a little bit more about that here in just a moment. But Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. They've got hydrant flow testing, flushing, valve repairs, valve operation, hydrant painting, GPS mapping, backflow device testing, and so much more. Check them out online at rogershydrantservice.com and call Joey Cherry at 662-3700. They've got 125 years of combined experience in the water treatment distribution. They know H2O. Now, as I said, you can tell that we are not at Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill. I've been a little under the weather, and I didn't want to kind of push that on everybody else and make sure that, I stayed safe for here and there and everyone. So didn't want to pass that on to Adam or Coach or the team or anybody else. So I'm at my house, and we'll bring in our co-host of the week, Mr. Adam Welch. He is at his house. How are you doing tonight, Adam?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing fine. Hanging in there, getting better, on the mend. But like I said, didn't want to pass everything along to everybody else. So, but I appreciate y'all being able to do this remotely. And then our fearless Coach Morris here, he's going to have to unmute himself. So there you go. Coach, how are you doing tonight? And you've got friends. Oh my!
They've made their way to my location, so we're okay.
They have bombarded you.
They have. They've bombarded me.
That's awesome. Well, hey, that's good though. That's that friendship and camaraderie and stuff that is good with the team and stuff. So, let's talk about the other night. We was at Greenfield, and took care of business there at Greenfield. A 44-0 shutout. And so let's talk a little bit about that. We talked last week before our newlywed game. By the way, congratulations on not finishing last on that. Bring that up. But, we've kind of talked about the coming off of the three losses and such. So to come out and get that kind of victory, what does that do for you and your team?
It's massive. It gets them going in the right direction. It gets them to start doing some things positively. I feel like we're on ESPN game day right now. That's what this feels like. This must be what they feel like when they come to Knoxville. We talked about how important it was to kind of right the ship, kind of start doing things the right way, and to get back to who we were as a team and as a program, and tasting some success again. And man, did the kids come out and play well, and they executed. They executed a lot of things really well, and they were able to get back on the W side of the column in a very, very big way.
It really seemed like that they got out there and, enjoyed themselves, more than maybe what we've seen in the past few weeks. You got some nods there behind you. And it seemed like they got back to that family atmosphere and got everything pointed in that right direction.
Yeah, they did. There's no doubt. And they were holding each other accountable. And, there was some chippiness that happened there at certain points in the games. And I think one of the things I'm more proud of is that, kids were backing other kids up. It sounded like, hey, get back in the huddle, or let's come back this way, or no, be smarter than that. And that was coming from players to players. And so that's good to see. It's good to know that that's happening now as we get ready to move into the playoffs.
All right, Adam, let's take a look at some of those stats and stuff that you've got. I know you've got those there with you. And, what's some things that kind of really stand out to you? And look, let's talk about some of our likes and dislikes of that.
Jay Long, 24 carries for 345 yards, 6 touchdowns, which is probably close to a school record. Nate Wyckoff, 7 carries for 35 yards. Caden Barber, 6 carries for 15 yards, and Jaden Milton, 2 carries for 8. Throwing the football, Jackson Mims, 2 out of 5, 1 interception and 15 yards. Receiving yards for West Carroll, Dalen Drassel with 1 catch for 10 yards, and Cornelius Cannon 1 catch for 5. For Coach Morris, talk about the getting back and getting back with the team and how exciting it was, and also the good start. I thought your team started off well in this game.
Yeah, it was definitely good to be back on the sideline. It was one of the things that me and Paul talked about pregame. How you feel, and it's a different feel. Everything is different now for not just me but my family, and so that was a big moment, and there was some emotion that went with it. But this is a family. These knuckleheads that are behind me right now, they are my family, and it was don't take careful. It was good to get back with them and just watch them perform and watch them have fun and watch them get after it. And, offense got back to what we do best, which is finding different ways to run the football. Defense pitched a shutout. Everything looked like it was clicking, very, very well as far as execution, how we executed our blocking scheme. O-line played really well. And so, with all that combined and just getting back to kind of what's normal now. So, yeah, it was a good night. It was a big night on the road against a Greenfield team that was feeling pretty good about themselves. And so it definitely got us going in the right direction.
Talk about your defense a little bit. You pitched a shutout. You held Greenfield down to 20 passing
Wait a minute. Wait,
yards.
you can tell he's a baseball guy because he just said you pitched a shutout.
Yeah.
Love you,
Yeah,
Adam,
I
but I heard that one.
Yep, 69 passing yards for Greenfield, 6 out of 13. They only ran 33 total offensive plays for 68 yards. Talk about your defense, and do you feel like your team's peaking right now at the right time as far as defensively goes?
Coach Dolan put a lot of work into this one, because Greenfield does do a little bit different. It's not different, but it's different than what we see. It's flex bone, triple option, veer midline, and that's kind of what they hang their hat on. They have started opening it up a little bit more here recently. So he put a lot of stress in each person in the defense doing their job, being very consistent with their keys, trusting what it is they saw. And so for them to go out and not just execute, but man, they were physical. We started the game off early. Seth Edwards and Hayden Holly meeting the midline at the mesh point and just setting the tone from one of the first few plays that, hey, we're going to be physical on defense. And so they were able to really kind of make Greenfield's offense stagnant for the most part. Greenfield hit a few plays here and there, and we weren't out of position on those plays. But no, Coach Dolan and the defense did a great job of preparation this last week, and I was glad to see it pay off. And so, yeah, I do think that they're starting to peak and go, in the right direction. But of course, we talked about after that bye week, us being a little bit more healthy. It definitely helps, and looks like we played faster. It looks like we played more physical, and I think that goes back to us having that week off of getting our legs back up underneath us.
Do you feel like pass rush was a big key in this game defensively? Really, I thought West Carroll did a good job of not giving Sullivan, the quarterback for Greenfield, a lot of time to throw the football. He was only 5 out of 12 for 61 yards, so he was less than 50% as far as throwing the football. So how important was that? Because, we've had trouble at times, it seems like, getting the quarterbacks this year as far as a good pass rush, but I thought this game was really good on that.
Yeah, and again, I think it goes back to, our guys' legs were a little bit back up underneath them. That was a long 8 game stretch there that took a toll, and kids' legs are gassed, for lack of a better terms. And so that week off, we did a lot of rehabbing, a lot of getting back in shape, kind of giving our legs a chance to recover. And I think you saw the results of that Friday night with how fast, especially our pass rush. You look at the pass rush, that's something that requires some explosiveness. If you look at how hard we hit the holes, our running backs, that requires explosiveness. And then how our O-line can finish blocks, flip hips, those things, that requires explosiveness. So I think all those things were a testament to getting back to it and getting back in rhythm.
Getting Nate Wyckoff involved in the offense a lot the last few weeks. 7 carries for 35 yards, but it was 35 very important yards because he averaged 5 yards carry. He had a long of 13 yards on the rush. Talk about Nate and what Nate is capable of doing as we head for Scotts Hill and then finish out the regular season at home against Trenton. Talk about Nate and what may be a difference maker he can make on that side of the football.
Well, we talked about this a few weeks ago. I mean, he's a big body, a very able body that we've got to find a way to get him the ball. We got to find a way to get him involved and just see if teams really want to tackle him. And that 35 yards should have been a lot more. And he'll tell you that, saw him film. He was just trying to bounce it out just a little bit too quick. And so I think we continue to try to use him in different capacities. And he can be a difference maker because you just don't see that very many big humans like that running the ball or having the ball in their hands. And I do think that he can cause some problems, especially as this temperature begins to drop and it gets a little bit colder and those hits start stinging just a little bit more. And we'll start seeing if teams really want to tackle Nate Wyckoff.
As we approach the last couple weeks of the regular season, what are some of the things you are hoping to continue to improve on, one? And number two, possibly every coach, every team seems like they have a few new wrinkles this time of year as far as offensive play calling, defensive schemes. Could we, I know you're not going to give away too much, but could we see, maybe a possibility of some of this as well?
Oh, without a doubt, as far as the wrinkles go. I mean, we've been working on a few wrinkles and adding a few things here and there over the last couple of weeks. And of course, there's another season that it looks like we'll be able to get into. And so you're going to save some things for that. And every coach does. Some things that I hope we continue to work on, and I know we'll get into Scotts Hill, but they're going to do a great job about attacking our perimeter, attacking our edge. And so that I'm excited to see how our defense handles that, because if you think back earlier in the season, we did have some issues with our edge defense, our perimeter defense, or setting the edge, not letting the ball get outside of us. So that's going to be, in my opinion, Scotts Hill's game plan. That's what they're going to want to do. And so it's going to give us a chance to see, has this week longer preparation for our perimeter defense, did it pay off, or do we need to adjust before we go into playoff against Memphis schools that are going to want to attack our perimeter? So, we get to see that firsthand. Of course, we all know what Peabody is going to bring with them there at the end. I like to see, have we improved on our willingness to be physical with teams that are bigger than us, that have more numbers than us, and maybe just a little bit more hype than us. And so far, every time our kids have been presented with that, situation, even in preseason, they've rose to the occasion. So I'm hoping to see that we won't back down from whoever it is that's across the field from us. And those are probably the two things. Defensively, I'd like to see, and then offensively, I'd just like us to continue to get more crisp. I think some things offensively were very crisp against Greenfield. Our passing game is still not where it needs to be, and there's different reasons why. We are working. We have not pulled everything out. I mean, when you beat a team 44-0, there's no reason to really kind of take a lot of unnecessary risk and show all your hands. But there are some things that we're really trying to work on timing-wise, footwork-wise, route running-wise, and then, O-line play-wise to try to help get Jackson and the receivers going, which I know that they're all longing for. And so hopefully over the next few weeks, if we don't see it, it is crisp and ready to go. Playoffs roll around.
All right, let's talk about a little bit more about the Greenfield, and let's look at our turning points, our Ash Photography snapshot of the week. Ash Photography's got family portraits, senior pictures, maternity, newborn, even wedding photos. You can call Ashton Worrell at 731-358-5956 or visit Ash Photography on Facebook or Instagram for more info and a link to the website. So what do you feel like is your snapshot of the week there against Greenfield and, kind of the turning point of the game?
I think it was the first two series right after half. We missed out on some opportunities in the first half. I believe it was 15-0 at halftime. Defense was playing very solid. The offense, looking at it, they just missed some holes, just trusting where it was at, hitting it up inside and then busting out, and just the little things here and there. And then after halftime, I believe Greenfield started with the ball. We held them. It may have been a 3-and-out. If not, they only got one first down, and then offense hit the play there to put us up 3 scores. And from that point forward, it was just kind of where we wanted to be and what we wanted to do, and it really took the wind out of Greenfield sails. So I really think those first two series, first series for us defensively, and then the first series for us offensively in the second half.
Was there anything that really kind of stood out to you as our zombie trail paintball scary moments in time? And I know you probably may not be able to find a whole lot of scary moments in a nice shutout victory like that, but I'm sure there was some moments that kind of stood out to you. And don't forget, Zombie Trail Paintball has still got a couple more weekends left. 1533 Mason Grove Road in Humboldt. And for more info and to buy tickets, you can visit zombietrailpaintball.com or check them out on Facebook, and also the campbloodtn.com for the Camp Blood cabins. So is there anything, Coach, that just kind of scared you that Greenfield game?
Yeah, there was one point in time there where things got a little physical on our sideline. Greenfield ended up getting a player ejected. He ended up taking a swing on one of our players, and it was kind of scary there for a minute to see how we respond to that. And we respond. Our kids, we have great kids, and they learned a lesson from the South Fulton deal, and we didn't have anybody respond. And not only did we not have anybody respond, we had other kids holding each other accountable. Getting kids away from it, moving people away from it. The coaches got in there, moved everybody away from the situation. And so I thought we handled that situation a lot better this time around than we did the first time around. So, in the moment you think, oh no, here we go. We can't afford to be losing anybody at this point in the season to ejections, and especially the second time. And our kids rose to the challenge and really corrected some mistakes that had happened earlier in the season.
Adam, do you have any more of the stats that you want to look at? Anything that stands out to you more than anything? Anything we haven't looked at?
No, I do not, Jonathan.
Well, you didn't come with your A game tonight, did you? No, I'm just kidding.
I did.
Well, hey, and that was one of the things like we talked about whenever we had that McKenzie game. It's not a whole lot of stuff that you can talk about, with a 51-0. And I guess that kind of goes to the same thing on the positive side for us this time. Maybe not as much as what you can talk about, on a 44-0 shutout. I'm glad we're on the winning side of that. But, Coach, let's talk about your player of the week. Now, I know this is probably going to be a little bit more difficult this time because you got some of them gathered around you there. But who's going to be your player of the week this week? Who's the one that really stood out? You ought to see these guys behind you. I know you can see them on your screen there. So
these are all seniors here, and of course, the more time you spend with kids, and if you're doing it right, the closer the relationship gets. And I've said multiple times over the last couple of months, I don't know what I'm going to do when this group behind me is gone, because my life will just get a little bit more quieter. But I appreciate them, and they're awesome, and they're great, and I'll miss them when that time comes. We're not done yet. I'm going to go two different. Jonathan, when we have good games, I try to do this. So I think the apparent one is Jay Long. He had a very, very big night. I tied the school record, I believe, in touchdowns, and I don't even know where it was ranked in yardage totals. I don't even know where to find that, but it had to be up there. I mean, that's almost unheard of. But when you have somebody rush for that much, you have to give credit to the offensive line. And this is an offensive line that has struggled. They've battled injuries. They've had a lot of criticism. They've been coached extremely hard. Coach Puckett's done a great job. Coach Lanham's done a great job with them. And I actually texted Coach Puckett today, going back and watching that film for the last time today a little bit. I actually saw some upper level type blocking from some of the kids that had been in the same position for most of the season. And so I texted Coach Puckett, and I said, man, I'm so grateful, for his work and Coach Lanham's work with them. And so, Jay Long, but also our offensive line, you got to give them a lot of credit. And you rush over 400 yards. You don't do that by yourself.
yeah, I know it seems like you've always got somebody that really stands out. And then, with that family atmosphere, it's like it seems like it's been more than one each and every week that has really, stood out there. Anything on the injury report? Do we have any bangs and bruises and stuff from they're raising their hand back there?
Nothing out of what it should be for week 9 or week 10 of football. I mean, it's been played at this point, and there's a lot of bruises, there's a lot of bangs, there's a lot of twists and everything that goes with this game. So, nothing new to add to the injury list. We may get a few more back this week. We'll see on that. But most of the ones that are really trying to baby things are sitting behind me. So it's funny how that kind of works out. Look at them. There's But no. So this some soft tissue things, as I call it, some bruises, some twists, some sprains, and things that we can take care of and manage a little bit and move forward hopefully and not allow those to get worse by the playoffs.
Anything on the kind of the things to fix category? Like I said, sometimes a victory is you may not think you got to fix things, but I know there's things that you and your team and your family, y'all really strive, and you can dig deep and find some of those things. So coming out of that Greenfield game, and I mean, we're going on another long road trip to Scotts Hill. Anything that you feel like you need to fix from that Greenfield game?
I think the biggest one, again, excuse the cows behind me. I think the biggest thing that's still a concern to me is our ball security. And I know Jonathan's got the stats, right? I mean, not Jonathan. Just Adam's got the stats.
Adam.
Right. Adam, would you mind reminding us how many turnovers we had versus Greenfield, please?
Yes. As far as the turnovers go in the game, West Carroll with one fumble is what we're showing here, and then also one interception. So 2 turnovers.
So you still have 2 turnovers there in a blowout game. And so that's kind of been the trend for us here recently offensively. We put the ball on the ground a lot, thrown the ball in some bad situations a lot. And as we move into this last half, I mean, it's going to be imperative this week. We're going to be on the road in a hostile environment, and we cannot turn the ball over. And I think that was kind of one of the last things I talked about to the team today is that's the biggest thing we have to fix. We know how to play at this point. We know who can do what, but we've got to stop giving the other teams more opportunities than they're already going to have. And so that's the biggest thing to fix to me. A lot of things that we struggle with during the ball break will fix itself now that we're back in school. But ball security has got to be priority number one.
Penalties. Talk about the penalties. We've had a few still, but not, it happens. I know.
It does. There was a few there that always make claims and cases for different things, and there's a few still blocks in certain places and certain angles and how we administer those blocks, and we have to get better at. But I do feel like our penalties are getting better, and that's going to come with you got a run heavy team. You're going to have some of those penalties, those holdings. The big things you don't want to see is the face mask. You don't want to see undisciplined jumping off sides or false starting. We had one of those early in the game that really put us behind the chains, and so you don't want to do those things. But the penalties, yes, we can always clean up penalties and be better.
Are you hoping that the kids are starting to buy into the little things is what is going to get this team to finish out strong in the regular season and as you go into the playoffs as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and the reason I say that is just because of how we have been practicing these last 2 weeks, our intensity. We had a lot of kids take practice last week very personal, with it being fall break. We had some that didn't show up, or different things. We had some struggles. We had some adversity. Fall break rolled over back into school. And you hear a lot of kids correcting each other, but not doing it in a demeaning way. They're doing it in a, hey, we're going to get better. Let's clean this up. This is how we're going to do it way. And so, they're starting to understand what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to be and what it takes to get to that point. And so, I've always said a player-led team is a lot more dangerous than a coach-led team. And we're teetering on that line right now of being one of those player-led teams. So I'm hoping that continues to grow and become a common thing, especially as we get into the playoffs, because that's a very, very powerful weapon that you can't track in stats and you can't put on paper.
All right, we're going to step away and take about a 1.5 to 2-minute message, and then we'll come back and we'll look ahead at this Scotts Hill game and kind of talk about what we've got coming up with that. So we're going to step away, take about a 2-minute message, and thank some of our fine sponsors for this Talons Out Live. And so we'll be back here on the War Eagle Radio Network in 2 minutes.
Are you in need of family portraits or senior pictures? How about maternity, newborn, and even wedding photos? Contact Ash Photography for all your photo needs within the West Carroll area and beyond. Call Ashton Worrell at 731-358-5956 or visit Ash Photography on Facebook and Instagram for more information, to check out her work and to book a session. Special packages are available and more. Let's capture these moments. Are you looking for shirts, apparel, and other supplies to support your favorite War Eagle? Digital Graphics in Atwood has you covered with expert screen printing and embroidery on uniforms, caps, signs, and more. Brent Stafford is ready to help you display your War Eagle pride to cheer on your team throughout the entire season. Call Digital Graphics at 731-225-4275. Plus, check them out on Facebook. If you're looking for the best in in-home generators, then look to K-Men Electric in Greenfield, Tennessee for your sales and installation of Generac home standby generators. Free estimates, licensed and insured. Why sit in the dark during power outages? Life is better with power. K-Men Electric has the experience you need with over 850 generators installed. Call today at 731-571-0767. Are you looking for the best knowledge about H2O? Call Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated. At Rogers Hydrant Service, they focus on building strong relationships with each of their customers to ensure every experience is the best that it can be. With over 125 years of combined experience in water treatment and distribution, they can help you achieve the best results from your water distribution system. Call Rogers Hydrant Service.
It's clean.
At 662
It's cold.
7300.
And that's what I call high quality H2O.
Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip with it.
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. Not at Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill, but I'm sure they're watching up there on the big screen. I text Christy and I said, don't forget to turn on our Talons Out Live. But again, I appreciate Coach and Adam agreeing to do this and to kind of do it remotely, and as well as Christy, because I called her because she's a very important part of this as well. And we appreciate her letting us intrude on her space each and every week. We're not in her space tonight, so she's probably kind of thankful for that. But hopefully they're watching there and got a loaded crowd in there checking out all her good stuff. So let's talk about this.
I'm missing my more special tonight.
Yes, you are. Well, I wondered if they would like deliver a sweet tea or something at least to each one of us. 'Cause, hey, I'm missing that sweet tea. I can tell you that.
It's a lot better location in the hallway of the junior senior high school, I'll promise you.
Yeah, well, hopefully this is the only time we've got to do this. And speaking of remotely, and I think we're probably just going to have to double up on the seniors for next week. I can see on the hub here, Shooter Nelson keeps trying to get in, but his lighting is not the greatest, and I think his service is a little off. So we'll double up on them next week and come up with two seniors at Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill, and we'll give them both ample opportunity to kind of shine in that spotlight. But let's talk about Scotts Hill, our second longest trip of the year, and I know this is not a region contest, but going into this, I'm sure you've watched their film, and I'm sure you've, major preparations and talked to your team. So what's some of the things that we can look for going into Scotts Hill and try to go in there and take care of business?
Like last year, they're going to be a big physical football team. The coach over there does a great job. He's a defensive-minded guy, so their defense plays fast. They run a stack type defense, and they're going to use a lot of movements, a lot of different slants and blitzes and things to try to confuse you and clean up their fits and kind of dictate where they want who to be. And they rally to the ball really fast defensively. So we're going to have to be well in tune to our blocking schemes offensively. We're going to have to communicate who's where, what we see, keep our eyes up, and be ready for some. It may look one way pre-snap, and then when that ball snaps, they're probably not going to be there. They're going to move, and that's going to present some challenges. But again, our offensive line had a good week last week, so I hope they can follow it up with another one this week. On offense for Scotts Hill, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to do a great job of finding and scheming different ways to attack our perimeter. They're definitely going to be a C+ gap runner. They're going to try to run outside off tackle, do a lot of rocket motion, orbit motions, a lot of speed options to the perimeter. They've got a couple of ball carriers they really like, and they move them around, and they try to scheme up ways to just get them out of the box. And so that's I'm interested to see that matchup. We've had a good week of preparation. I feel like our kids have really bought into it. Coach Dolan again has put in a lot of work, a lot of preparation to be sure we're shored up there, and just comes down to executing and being ready for the few trick plays that Scottsdale will throw in. So, they're going to bring a lot of challenges. They're going to, of course, with it being at home for them, that's senior night for them, I believe. And so there's always emotions that go in with that. And so it's going to be a big game. And yeah, it's not a region game, but this game has some importance. I mean, there's could be a possible situation where there's a three-way tie in the playoffs between us, Halls, and Humboldt, and the tiebreaker there is overall record. And so this win could come into factor for us down the road. And so every win at this point in the season is extremely valuable. So this would be a great one to be able to go out and get.
Yeah, it's not something you want to look over. Each week we kind of ask you to take a look at your Cayman Electric powers to succeed going into this next game. Remember, home Generac standby generators, because life is always better with power. Call Kurt McCartney. We're free estimates and references at 571-0767. So what's some of those top things, Coach, that you want to look at as your Cayman Electric powers to succeed going into Scotts Hill?
First, don't turn the ball over and create some turnovers. When you're on the road, you want to treat every position. You're not going to get another. And so we need to be able to cash and not turn that over, not put it on the ground, not throw it into their hands, not take any unneeded risk. Number two, we need to create some of those. We need to create some turnovers. Massive when you're on the road and removing that hometown hope that you play with sometimes. And those are just two general ones. For us offensively, we need to be able to take advantage of what they give us. Coach Dixon is going to be doing some things. Him and Coach Bucket have done a lot of giving them some different looks and really kind of seeing what they're going to line up to us at. I'm interested to see it too. And when we realize how they're lining up, we have to be able to take advantage of what they give us. Then, of course, defensively, we have to be solid on the perimeter. We have to be solid on the edge. We either have to stone it and get it back inside, and if it gets outside of us, we've got to be able to string it out. We've got to expand our fits, and we got to get hats to the ball. And then, of course, be ready for those trick plays. And then last thing, I think our special teams has continually got better every week, and that needs to continue to be the case here. We need to work on our field position. We need to start pinning some teams back deeper. I think we can stop giving them the ball at the 35 plus. And we haven't done a lot of punting here recently, but when that comes up, we need to be able to execute that cleanly and crisply and get down the field and not allow a return.
Coach, talk a little bit about the in-game adjustments and how hard that is as a coaching staff with so much that y'all have so much going on during the game. As far as, from different plays, different formations, what teams throw at you offensively, and then different schemes as well.
Yeah, so that's always kind of the unhit or the unknown chess match, and it's even harder when you're at a 1A school because we have quite a few kids that don't come off the field, so you never get to really talk to them until halftime or in between a quarter. And whatever you do talk to them about, it has to be streamlined, it has to be direct, and you really got to think about what you're doing. So those in-game adjustments, you want to try to think about during the week. In our case, and I think we're really good at this. Hopefully, time will tell that I'm right. But we have a staff that thinks about things in a lot of different ways. When we prepare, not only do we prepare for what we film, we also try to prepare for what we think their adjustment is going to be based off the tendencies and what they've shown and the things they come up with over the week. And so, this week is a prime example. Scotts Hill has things they like to do offensively and defensively, but they've also shown some things that they'll do when they've been strained. And so, with Coach Dolan and myself being a 3-3 stack guy on defense, we kind of throw some things at Dixon and Bucket that we think that based on how they've played over the last few years under Coach Wilson. So you try to practice some of those things, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And you always miss some because you always have, just like I said, we've got some things in our back pocket that we have us. So coach is going to have that, but those adjustments seem to always work better if they can be minimal, and they can be quick, and they can be easy to understand for the kids instead of really making major adjustments. Anything that causes the kids to play slower, I have not had a lot of success with that in the past.
One of the things that you mentioned just a minute ago was talking about your special teams getting better. I know that we have mentioned, at least on the broadcast and stuff, as Magic Martinez, it seems like he has gotten a lot better at some of the extra points and different areas. So kind of talk about his individual role, and then at the same point, what are some of the things, the exact pinpoint things that you have seen that has come out a little bit better in those special teams?
Well, I think it just comes along with our team maturing. Of course, Jose is gotten in a rhythm here, and I hope I don't jinx him when I get done. I'll knock on wood, but he's gotten in a rhythm here with the PATs and extra points. It's almost become automatic, and that whole unit has done a great job, especially Jay as a holder, getting it down in the right spot for Jose, and he feels comfortable. He looks fluid. He doesn't look like he doesn't look very concerned when he goes out there to kick, and so that's a luxury. And he had a really good shot there to make three there at the end of the half versus Greenfield. They got through and they blocked it. We had a middle lapse there on the front part. I do think it was going to go in. That line looked good. The snap looked good. The hold looked good. The approach looked good looking at film. So I do think that still we'll have to have three. But to answer your questions about why special teams have gotten better, I do think that our team is maturing. For the most part, we've had a young, inexperienced team, and sometimes those young, inexperienced teams don't understand how important special teams are. And you continue to preach it, and then eventually they'll start buying into it. And I do think Coach Taylor has worked really hard to put pride back in our special teams. He takes it personal. He could probably use a lot more time than I give him. But they are getting better. We have kids that are selling out, and we have some younger kids that are finally stepping up and wanting to be involved, and that helps special teams out as well.
Adam, do you have anything else that you wanna discuss going into this Scottsdale game?
One last thing that I have discussed is your team's playing, I think, now with some momentum. I think sports is all about momentum. In every sport, NCAA, March Madness, football, Major League Baseball right now with the Phillies. Your team's coming off of a shutout win, as we know, on the road. I think how important is it, Coach, one, to have momentum. Number two, you go on the road now 2 weeks in a row. How important would this be to get this win at Scotts Hill before you finish out your home regular season game with Trenton, a region game?
Oh, it's going to be extremely important. I mean, we're going, like I mentioned it, we're going into a hostile environment. This is not going to be a fun place to go play. It got a little rowdy last year here at West Carroll. I can only imagine what it's going to be when we go up to Scotts Hill at Reagan. So it's going to be a good test for us getting ready for playoffs with it looking like that us having to go down to Memphis to play in first round. And there's always challenges that go with that. I personally, over the years, and even more so as a head coach, I'd rather play on the road for me. And I think our kids are just a little bit more loose. They seem like they play just a little bit more carefree. There's not as many, I shouldn't say distractions, but there's not as much that's going on around at home. Everything is very, very scheduled, so to speak. When we do what, when we leave, when we get there, what's done when we get there, and there's not a lot of gray area. And so I think the kids have rallied behind that. And not saying we don't play well at home, we do play well at home, but a team that's able to play well on the road and be able to run the football and stop the run on the road when you get into November and December, those teams are hard to beat. And it looks like we're becoming that type of team. And hopefully that comes with us this Friday all the way to Scotts Hill.
Are you hoping you can match Scotts Hill's physicality? It seemed like they've always been very physical on the offensive and defensive line. Do you feel like that's going to be the most important part of this game? Is the battle up front? It is.
It's going to be a very good test for linemen on both sides. It's a battle of the boxes. We're both kind of built similarly, even though we do things just a little bit different offensively, but we do a lot of the same So there's going to be similarly built teams going at each other. And so I'm really interested to see how the battle in the box goes. They've got some really big linemen that are really physical and they're really good. Their linebackers are downhill, players, and their D linemen are quick. And so we're going to have a better game in the box, one of our better games in the box, rather. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we're at. We made the comment today. Coach Dixon was talking about a practice script, and it was a short practice script. We didn't have a lot of endo in there, and I looked at it and he said, "Man, there's not a lot of endo." And I said, "Hey, at this point in the season, you can play or you can't." And so now it's just about fine tuning those little things that y'all mentioned earlier. Yeah. We know what we are. We know how we got to play to be successful. Now, what little wrinkles can we do, and can we iron out some little things? And being able to bang in the box is one of those little things. And I've told our kids since July, if we're willing to go toe to toe with people in the box at the line of scrimmage, then we're willing to do what it takes to be just a little bit more physical than whoever we're playing. We will be playing football for a long time, especially as it gets colder. I was so glad for it to be cold this week at practice because we need to experience that. I want them to experience that because I don't want that to be in our minds when we're on the road and we're playing and it's cold. I don't want us to cater. I want us to go out and play. And so I was so thankful for cold temperatures in the middle part of this week.
Yeah, it seems like that is, you mentioned that, and that the thing that popped in my brain is, and I know, Adam, you probably remember Coach Ferris Lowry for the girls at Huntington. Yep. And you would get there ready for a game, and he would have that heat cranked all the way up. And I mean, you're just burning up trying to prepare for your broadcasts and stuff because they had just finished having practice, and he wanted that heat, that atmosphere, and so that is kind of unique that you kind of bring that up, and it's been a pretty chilly week. So do you feel like that has kind of aided in your week going forward, and has it been what you wanted?
I think, yeah. I know where you're going. Especially, didn't mean to cut you off, but that first day, I guess it was Monday it was cold. Yesterday was really cold, but that first day, Monday, it hit them a little strange. I don't think they were fully prepared for it, and it kind of went like I thought it was going to go. We had a good practice, but you always heard them say, "I'm cold." "Oh, it's cold, Coach. When are we? It's cold. It's cold. It's cold." And that's what you expect. Over the years, I've learned to expect from cold practices. But yesterday it was even colder, and I heard less of that. And we were really physical in practice yesterday. And then today, albeit the wind wasn't blowing, but the temperatures were still down there. Not only did I hear less of that, and not only were we extremely physical, kids were coming out of clothes. They're taking their shoulder pads off to come out of a hoodie or a sweatshirt. And so I do think that it had the effect that I wanted it to have. If I could have planned it, again, you can't plan if that happens, but I do think the kids behind it, and they just got to work, and that's again another sign of a maturing team. They just got to work. We can't control what the weather's going to be. We can't control how hot, cold, dry, or wet it's going to be when we play ball, but we can control if we go to work, and that's a message they've been hearing for months now. And they just showed up and they went to work, and man, we've been physical these last few days in practice, and I really hope that comes with us Friday.
Seems like you got a good outlook and a good hope going into Scotts Hill on Friday night. We're going to step away. We'll take about a 30-second break. We'll come back and kind of wrap this all in a bow and point you in the right direction of Friday night. So we'll take about a 30-second break, and we'll come back with a little bit more Talons Out Live here on the War Eagle Radio Network.
If fresh, homemade, hand-patted burgers and the best Southern eating is what you're looking for, well, look no further than downtown Atwood at Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill. Just across the street from Max Camo Connection, you'll find the best sweet tea on the block, a tasty Southern breakfast, appetizers, sandwiches, chicken, and more. Call ahead for takeout at 731-662-3770 or come on in, sit a while, and enjoy some good Southern eating. For hours and more information, visit Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill on Facebook.
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service, remotely tonight. But we appreciate you all being able to do that and being able to make that adjustment and stuff. And so hopefully I'm on the mend and I can get better and be ready to rock and roll for Friday night. Going to Scotts Hill, the Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show will start at 6:30 and the kickoff at 7 o'clock as usual. And we talked about a while ago, Coach, we was going to try to have Shooter Nelson on here as your senior spotlight player. But we'll double up next week. We'll take care of business with that and just let him know he had a little bit of issues with the service and stuff and the lighting. So we'll pick up on that next week and double up, and we'll figure out exactly who we got for that. All right, so I think that'll be it. Adam, you got anything else you want to talk about there, buddy?
Nope, just 2 regular season games and then hopefully 5 more after that.
What's our number?
7.
7 is our magic number. Well, Coach Morris, as always, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you being able to do this remotely. I'm glad I was able to kind of figure out how to get all of it done. So make adjustments here and there. But good luck on Friday night, and we'll be right there with you.
Everybody make a trip. Support our kids. They work hard.
Yeah, we need to show out and make that trip and support our kids and stuff. So once again, thanks for everybody for joining us here, and hopefully next week we'll be back at Christie's Camo Cafe and Grill in downtown Atwood. You get your Coach Morris special and get my sweet tea and Adam's Philly back on next week. So we'll look forward to doing that. But remember to join us. If you're unable to make it to Scotts Hill, join us at the Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show at 6:30 and the kickoff at 7. So that'll do it for Talons Out Live. So on behalf of Coach Morris, Adam Welch, I'm Jonathan Gowan, and we'll talk to you on Friday on the War Eagle Radio Network from Scotts Hill.
Tonight's broadcast on the War Eagle Radio Network is brought to you under exclusive radio rights granted by West Carroll High School to the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company, solely for the private non-commercial use of our listening audience. Any publication, reproduction, or the use of the descriptions and accounts of this event without the express written consent of the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company and West Carroll High School is prohibited.